it's funny, the studio and the network are always like, can you guys just tell a straightforward story? But it's hard because you have to kind of show where he came from, and you have to show all of the intricacies of how he was able to manipulate people, manipulate his research. I hope that audiences are still engaged by the end, and we're still able to like have that kind of fuller storytelling opportunity. I'm doing well. How are you?
Great, thank you. Okay, so let's begin. So first of all, I was wondering, because there's so many elements on Dr.Death. I mean, it's like you have thriller, you have drama, you have based on real life, on real events. So how did you manage to balance all those elements and leave room for the victims as well?
I think because the true story was inherently so dramatic, it actually wasn't. Yeah. There's not a lot of drama that we are making up or creating for this show, because the most dramatic and I think terrifying and really kind of sad and really disappointing stories are the real ones. And I think honestly, like, it all just sort of blended together. It was similar the way that we had it in season one. Like the deeper we dug into the stories, the more the themes just sort of like presented themselves. And a theme that we really pushed this season was the sort of cosmic global element of Dr. Paolo Macchiarini's work, and how it took people from all over the world, not even aware of what each other person was doing. It took Benita, it took the doctors from all over the world to kind of like work independently to complement each other's work in order to hold him responsible. So those themes just sort of inherently came out, I think, as we dug deeper into the story.
And what I think is really interesting, when you have you need to have a cast that has similarities with real life people. So how did you actually manage to do all this research to get to where you got in the end?
With the cast,
right, exactly.
Edgar, in particular, Edgar was always in my mind the first choice. There was just something about him and the way he sort of exudes the confidence that Paolo needed in order to sort of sell his snake oil, for lack of a better phrase. But he also, we met early on. We met with the director, Jennifer Morrison, the three of us, and it was really important for him. We're all the hero of our own story, and I think it's important. It's always important for all the shows that I do, and especially Dr.Death franchise, to have our doctors be three-dimensional and not, no one is setting out to hurt anyone. They're crossing lines, and that was really important to Edgar. And that as soon as he sort of started speaking to that, it was like, oh, this is a no-brainer. And then the rest of the cast fell into place in a way that I could not have even imagined or hoped for. This cast is so stellar this season.
Yes, it really is. And well, I know that in season one you have like flashback and flash forward. You always like play a lot with the two temporalities. So I wonder if you did this on this second season as well.
We did, and it's important. I think it's hard. It's so much. It's funny. The studio and the network are always like, can you guys just tell a straightforward story? But it's hard because you have to kind of show where he came from, and you have to show all of the intricacies of how he was able to manipulate people, manipulate his research, while also keeping the present day story moving forward, so it doesn't just feel like a backstory. Like, we have to keep our present day drama moving forward and touch in with the patients as they're going through these surgeries. So it's always a little bit of a difficult dance to flashback, but it's a challenge that I think we all the writers and directors welcomed, and I hope we were successful.
And well, we all just love true crimes. There's something about true crimes that we are just drawn to them. So what do you think, and why do you think we love true crime stories so much?
I think about this a lot, especially because women, with the biggest true crime audience is women. And I think that honestly, it goes back to just sort of like the basis of why we create stories, which is to sort of like explain what we don't understand and find some kind of control over the uncontrollable. And specifically when you have these stories, going to the doctor, it's the most universal thing in the world. We all have to go to the doctor, we all get sick. And so when you hear these stories, and I think digging into why and what and who and how it happened gives us a sense of control over it. And also I think it's educational in a lot of ways. I mean, even the most sort of like extravagant true crime story, you learn something about humanity, and you learn a little bit more of a way to protect yourself. And we, you know, at Dr.Death and Littleton Road Productions, we have the whole philanthropic arm. So it's actually designed in order to help people. If you're going to the doctor, it gives you sort of like a set of skills, a set of knowledge, so you can protect yourself. And I think that sort of like, it all comes back to just storytelling from the very beginning.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. And, you know, I think it's really interesting that both season 1, season 2, I mean, we have these really weird and kind of like characters that are psychopathic and, you know, as you said before, manipulative. And it's kind of like mixing two really strong fears that people actually have when you're going to the doctor and someone is going to put you to sleep and you need to, I think it's excellent in that sense, right?
Yeah, there's a lot of trust, obviously.
Yeah.
And we sort of come out of what I'm kind of coming out of this show with is a sense that you have to be your own best advocate. So you have to go in knowledgeable, you have to know what your questions are, you have to get your questions answered, and you have to make sure that you sort of stand up for yourself, because, you know, there are, for every one Paolo Macchiarini, there are 100 wonderful doctors, but we just, you know, it's important to be informed.
Yes, of course. And finally, to wrap up, well, I don't know, the first season has 8 episodes, right? I think. And I want you to know, I think this one will have 8 as well. So what makes you, you know, as a showrunner, I mean, decide on how many episodes and why are you going to put, I mean, okay, it's going to be 8 or 10 or 5. I mean, what makes you decide on that?
I think if it were up to the showrunners, we would have 100 episodes per season because there's so much story. And so whenever you're trying to whittle it down to 8, you know, there's always, you have to leave something out. You have to leave storylines out or characters out. But I think, you know, this is sort of like a format that we've settled into. And it's like for a limited series, it seems like 8 is a really good number. I hope that audiences are still engaged by the end, and we're still able to like have that kind of fuller storytelling opportunity.
Oh, excellent. Well, thank you, Ashley, so much for your time. Really looking forward to this season. Huge fan of Dr.Death, so congratulations again.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Bye.